Set. Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Continuing with our celebration of 50 years, we will be looking at the 1975 release One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. With me are Ted.
So, Eric, you want to bet? 1 week. I bet in 1 week I can put a bug so far up Ken's ass, he won't know whether to shit or wind his wristwatch.
That's very weird. How about you, Ken? You got a response to that?
Get out of my way, son. You're using my oxygen.
That's right, and as always, a little dab will do ya. We are talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which seems like an apt title for the way we are in today's society. But we are not going to get into that. We are talking about this movie, which is 1963, Oregon, I believe. Oregon. But let's talk about what we did this week. How about you, Ken? How did your week treat you?
Been watching Night Court Season 3, got through 8 episodes.
The original?
No, the
I'm so sorry. Okay, what else?
It's okay. It's definitely not the original for sure, but it's not bad either. Been doing Evil, the show Evil still. We're on Season 3, I think episode 3.
How many seasons are there?
There's 4.
Okay.
And then I tried the first episode of the new Suits reboot.
I didn't know there was a Suits reboot.
Just came out.
Wow.
So I checked out the first episode. It's okay. I mean, I liked it, but I don't know how I feel about it compared, of course, to the original.
Well, original is always hard to do, but you got to give it a little more than one episode, obviously.
Yeah, this is Suits in L.A. compared
and I know you love the original Suits.
Oh, yeah. The original
Yes.
Suits was
Okay.
one of my favorites, yeah.
All right, awesome.
So, what have I been up to? Well, I've restarted to watch The Big Bang Theory. I enjoy that a lot. I've watched a few movies. I watched Reservoir Dogs. I watched The Town. Watched Almost Famous. Watched Dazed and Confused. Jersey Girl, which I know you like, Eric.
I love Jersey Girl. I know. I'm in the minority on that one.
And Dead Poets Society. Yeah. What have you been up to, Eric?
Well, I was on a little vacation. Me and the missus, we flew to Hawaii. We're able to see the volcano erupt while we were at Volcanoes National Park, which was
That's
once in a lifetime. I mean, my
freaking
wife was
cool.
just so over the top. That's the only reason why she wanted to go, was to see this volcano erupt. She was able to see it, and it was a fun. I mean, the pictures don't do it justice. The video,
Yeah.
It's like being at the Grand Canyon. You have to be there.
But you have to be there. That's so freaking cool.
Yeah, so that was a blast. Listened to a lot of podcasts flying. I mean, we flew into Vegas and watched a few movies. I watched a lot of docs, 2 of them. I watched the Gabby Bettino doc.
Yes, I
Very
watched that
good.
too.
I am a sucker for any OJ documentary that comes up, new or old. So I watched the new OJ documentary, which is probably one of the best ones ever. It was an incredible.
It's pretty good.
Because anyone who knows me
good.
knows I am obsessed with O.J. Simpson and the O.J. Simpson murders in the case. This one really went on. Did you see it, Ted?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was really, really impressed with the kind of the directions they went. Opened my eyes on a few things.
Furman he actually was on camera, and he admitted that he was the fly in the ointment.
Yes.
I think that it highlighted the mistakes that were made on the prosecution's part.
Yes, we're not going to turn this
Very
into
well.
an OJ podcast, but honestly, we could. I mean, race was a huge factor in that, but this thing, besides race, really nailed down credibility and really nailed down mistakes of the investigation from the defenses or the prosecution side, which is incredible.
Christopher Darden still didn't own up to the fact that he should have never had OJ try on those fucking gloves.
Yes, he did. He did say that he
still said
I know.
they fit. Dumbass.
It was a bad move on his part. We all can agree with that.
And he's a good lawyer.
Yeah, no, he is. Yes.
You never ask a question that you don't know the answer to.
And there's a lot of factors why the glove did not fit and
Of
why they
course.
quit. But we're not going to get into that because we'll spend all day.
And I thought that was brilliant.
It was.
What OJ's agent told him not to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. With the medication. I'll make one last point. We can say whether it's bullshit or if it's real or fake or hearsay, but the agent admitted that OJ did admit that he did kill them.
Yeah.
At the end. Now, whether you believe it or not,
I believe it.
I know.
1,000%.
It was a great documentary. Highly recommended. I watched some Amy Schumer stand-up comedies.
Okay.
I'm sorry, stand-up specials, not the
Stand-up
movies,
special, yeah,
the specials. And here's my curveball. Why I watched this one, I don't know, because I'd never seen it before. All the right moves, never seen it before. I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot.
Craig T. Nelson.
Craig T. Yeah. It was a little,
so-so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
It was not risky business.
It's very so-so.
I'd rather see Taps. Tom Cruise being a little
Taps,
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I've always
Hutton
wanted to
vehicle.
see it. I never had. I'm like, I'm going to watch it on the flight, and it was so-so. It was so-so.
The
But
only thing good about that movie, Leah Thompson.
yeah, so a lot of Leah Thompson.
Yeah, Leah Thompson.
A lot of Leah Thompson. So
Yeah, she's
Love
amazing.
Yeah.
Taps that's an interesting. George C. Scott
yeah,
and
yeah.
Sean Penn
Yeah.
and Timothy Hutton and Tom
Well,
Cruise.
George C. Scott for like about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he dies at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Spoiler
So-
alert. God
All right.
damn,
Hey,
Ken.
it's been 44 years. So if if you haven't watched it yet, that's
I
on you.
actually own Taps. That's pretty funny.
I think
haven't
I own
watched
Taps
that.
too.
So that's pretty much all I watched. Not a whole lot. A lot of listening. A lot of catching up on some older podcasts.
And you got
And
to go
sleeping.
to Hawaii.
Eric versus the volcano.
Eric versus Volcano. Yeah. All right.
Abe will go to try to convince you to jump into a
Abe
volcano. while you're there.
Vigoda. Movie is so
Abe
bad.
Vigoda.
My goodness, that movie's
I
so
love
bad.
it. I
Oh,
love it.
no.
It's so bad. I love it.
It's leaving
I
Las
saw that
Vegas.
one in the theater actually.
Is it better on the big screen?
Not any better, not any worse.
Well, seeing something on the big screen, that leads us into when did we first see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
For me, I really don't know. It's probably 20 years ago. It was before I got married. That I can tell you. First time. Second time. So I don't know. It's been, obviously it was on video. It's probably a rental or cable or something, but none of us saw it in the theater. I think we can honestly say that. We have some pretty messed up parents that would take us there.
I don't know if I've fully seen this movie before. I actually know I saw it in the mid-90s,
That's
but
what
I
you
think
were
I was
telling me.
bored to tears and did not finish the movie. That's what I'm thinking of because I don't remember the ending. I remember a lot about the movie, but I don't remember the ending. And I'm
Interesting.
thinking it's because I was just bored with it.
Yeah, different
Interesting.
person then, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
23, 23 around that time frame.
No, I get it.
Didn't know anything about mental health when I was in my 20s, but as I've gotten older and I still don't know anything about mental health, but
Well, you know quite a bit.
I know quite a bit about other
Yeah.
people with mental health. But anyway, so I have a different perspective now than I used to.
Especially mental health in 1963 versus today. A little different. A little different.
Tiny bit.
Different. Yeah. Cool.
So in college, I had a job on campus at the library, and this is where I rented a lot of my movies from the campus library.
Can you still get movies from the campus library?
I haven't been on campus at QU in quite a while, so I don't know, but I'm assuming so. So my best friend at the time, Tim, and I would do weekly movies and stuff. So I saw this in probably freshman year of college. And and it's Jack Nicholson. It's everything that I love, and I think Milos Forman is one of the best directors.
Definitely put him on the map on this one.
Yeah, and of course too, I was very interested in Ken Kesey and his Merry Pranksters. So
Did you read the book?
I have not read the
Okay.
book. But it is on my list to read, and it has been for a while. I don't know why I actually haven't read it, but
You know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to mention this too, and there's a reason why I'm bringing it up now. Is me and the wife started watching Boston Legal again. We're 2 episodes in. And in the second episode, they actually mentioned the book, One Flew Over the
No
Cuckoo's
way.
Nest, when they were on the balcony having their
Cool.
brandy and cigars,
There you go.
Spader and Shatner. And I turned to my wife and I go, we're doing that movie tomorrow.
There you go. Very
And she's
cool.
like, BFD. So, and, so, yeah.
That's
But she didn't say
pretty funny.
BFD, but that's the
That's
look
what
I
that
got
was.
when
That was,
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the essence.
Yes.
She's a big fan of the podcast. And the movie.
Huge booster.
Huge.
Big booster of the podcast and podcast in general, because that's all she does is listen to them. Not. I am intrigued, though. This might be a book that I might actually pick up and read. It's probably considerably different from the movie. Well, as we're talking about the podcast, of course, you're listening to us on one of the many, many, many platforms that are out there. You got Spotify, you got Apple, you got YouTube. Hey, maybe you're listening to us on YouTube. The Dorkening Network, Twitter.
Podbean,
yes. So we're out there, and we are happy you are listening to us. And tell your friends. And we love feedback, good or bad. We love it. Preferably good, but we'll take bad,
We'll fight
too.
you if it's bad.
Yeah,
We'll fight you.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about particulars with Ted. What do you got, Ted?
Particulars.
There's a lot on this one. I mean, my goodness.
Yep, there's some
You got
really
some
cool stuff
early
there.
careers of some actors in this one.
So, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is directed by Milos Forman, is a screenplay by Lawrence Halbin and Bo Goldman. The music and score was by Jack Nietzsche, based off of the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. It has a running time of 135 minutes. It was released November 19th, 1975. It had a budget of $4.4 million. And it had a box office gross of, get this, $163.3 million. That's
a lot of coin.
1975 money. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score, this is no surprise, of a certified fresh 93%. And it has an audience score of a 96%. It also on IMDb has a rating of 8.7. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest stars Jack Nicholson as Randall Patrick McMurphy, Louise Fletcher as Nurse Mildred Ratched, Will Sampson as Chief, William Redfield as Dale Harding, Brad Dourif as Billy Babbitt, Sidney Lasik as Charlie Cheswick, Christopher Lloyd as Max Tabor, Danny DeVito as Martini, Dean Brooks as Dr. John Spivey, William Duell as Jim Seafelt, Vincent Schiavelli as Bruce Fredrickson, Michael Berryman as Ellis, Alonzo Brown as Attendant Miller, Mwako Chewbacca as Attendant Warren, and it's not Chewbacca, it's Kumbaka. Nathan George as Attendant Washington, Maria Small as Candy, Scatman Crothers as Night Guard Turkle, Philip Roth as Woolsey, Louisa Moritz as Rose, Peter Bracco as Colonel Matterson, Delos V. Smith Jr. as Scanlon, Joseph Ellick as Bancini, Amy Sarkeesian as Nurse Pilbow, Ted Markland as Hap Arlish, and Mary Costa as Mrs. Johnson.
Impressive.
So, yeah, the first movie for Christopher Lloyd and the first movie for Brad Dourif.
What about Danny DeVito? No?
I don't think this is his first movie. It might be his first movie, but it was not his first acting role.
Okay. Let's roll right into Ken's Tidbits.
Ken's Tidbits. Do, 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 do. Ken's Tidbits.
Well, the story is based by author Ken Kesey's experience while working at a Veterans Administration hospital in Menlo Park in California. Co-producer Michael Douglas scouted various West Coast locations and chose Oregon State Hospital because Superintendent Dr. Dean Brooks agreed to give the filmmakers unlimited access.
And that is the Michael Douglas, too.
The Michael Douglas, son of Kirk Douglas, who
Yes.
owned the rights to this film. He wanted to star in it, but by the time they got around to making the film, he was deemed too old for the part, which I don't know if he would have been too old for the part,
But
to be honest with you.
he did play it on Broadway.
And the only other person I know that played a part on Broadway was Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, and then I saw that Gary Sinise played Randall McMurphy on Broadway. There's
Probably
been
after this movie, probably.
Obviously. Come on, Lieutenant Dan.
I'm surprised Michael Douglas didn't want to do it, but Michael Douglas didn't feel like he was adequate for the part.
Well, his dad, what I read was his dad said basically no.
If I'm not in it, you're not in it, type of deal.
Pretty much. And I guess it caused a rift between them that lasted a few years.
Interesting.
Well, from what I read, Kurt Douglas said he didn't have the choice because Ashby wanted Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
they also wanted.
Everybody wanted Burt Reynolds.
Marlon Brando, James Caan, and Gene Hackman was also considered for the role as well.
God, can you imagine Marlon Brando?
No.
I can see Hackman.
You talk about being too old. Marlon Brando would have been a little bit too old for Randall McMurphy at this time. But Hackman and who else did
James
you say?
Caan.
And Caan. That
Jimmy
would have been
Caan,
interesting.
Yeah. I could see Gene Hackman, especially since we're reviewing this just within the same week of him passing away, or 2 or 3 weeks since he passed away. We really don't know. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I could definitely see Gene Hackman, but I mean, I don't see Burt Reynolds. I mean, I just don't.
No, I don't see that either. It doesn't seem to fit his acting chops.
But Kurt Douglas, I still think he could have pulled it off this late in his career. I think so.
He was old in the mid-'80s. Spartacus.
But he was fit. I mean, that guy.
Well, hell yeah! I mean,
he was extremely fit.
I mean, he was.
Why would age matter in this part?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
he's supposed to.
He's a criminal.
He's supposed to be 40.
But he's a criminal. Criminal could be any age if you're trying to deem his.
True.
Yeah,
but this is more aimed for a younger man's game.
So Kurt Douglas at this particular time would have been 60. Well, 59 when it came. 59 when it came out.
I mean, because he was long in the tooth when they did Spartacus in 63 or 64.
And Jack would have been around 38 when this came
38.
out.
Yeah,
he would have been right
same age as he was supposed to be in the movie.
Right. This is one of the roles that catapulted Jack into Jack status.
He was on a roll with these movies.
Chinatown.
I mean, because he was still not a massive star when they did this. So
I think Jack just plays Jack in every movie that he's in.
Pretty much.
I disagree. I think
Jack has a lot of range, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's the same character, just a tad differently. I mean,
well, he has the same mannerisms. You can't get around that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got the Jack.
You don't lose yourself into whatever he's playing. When you go see a Jack Nicholson movie, you're going to see Jack be Jack. Even with the Joker, it's Jack being Jack. Some other notes on this movie: Will Sampson, who played the chief, was a park ranger in Oregon where the movie was being filmed at. And he was selected to the part because he was the only Native American who fit the description of the character because of his incredible size.
What a happy
cast.
What a happy accident.
Yeah, right?
I guess, and I didn't write this down in my notes, but I guess the guy who runs the marina, what are they called?
Yeah, the boat guy.
Yeah, the boat
guy. The marina,
yeah. He, I guess, recommended him for the part. And I guess he got the job, the guy at the marina, played the marina guy. He got the job because he sat next to Michael Douglas on a flight. Yeah.
And he was actually a boat owner. He actually owned that boat. It's pretty funny.
Of course, Jack Nicholson got the part, and he took a percentage of the profits.
Smart
man.
In lieu
of a small salary, yes. And Louise Fletcher was in preparation to begin filming on Nashville.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Lily Tomlin was set to play Nurse Ratched.
That is an interesting turn for her.
I would have liked to see it. I could see Lily Tomlin play Nurse Ratched. I could kind of see it. Every time I see this movie, though, I keep on thinking of High Anxiety. It just kept on going back to Nurse Ratched and High Anxiety.
Yeah. Did you see the note that Angelica Houston was actually part of the group of like reporters and stuff that's at the dock waiting for everybody
No,
to
I
come
didn't know
back
Angelica Houston was part of that group.
because Jack was dating her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She would have been a great Nurse Ratched.
I don't
Interesting.
know.
Yes, I could
don't
see
know.
that.
She's got range.
She's got
Oh, incredible
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And she was amazing.
I'm gonna have to watch
with-
that scene again and look for her.
It's very hard. You have to look hard.
So I don't know how exactly Lily Tomlin and Louise Fletcher switched roles because Lily Tomlin didn't took the part in Nashville, but Louise Fletcher really wanted this part. She had auditioned for 6 months, and they kept on calling her back, and they kept on saying it, you're approaching it the wrong way. So she was eventually hired a week before filming started.
Two great directors swapping.
Lily Tomlin's probably going, I gave up a chance for an Academy Award.
Well, you never know.
But you have no idea.
Well, usually when a film like this is made, we talked about this thing swept, all the awards, that it was in. It was only one of 3 movies to ever do that. It happened one night, and The Silence of the Lambs, Best Picture, Best Actor, Actress, Director, Screenplay, and Adapted or Original. Some weird things that happened, unfortunately. William Redfield, who's in this movie, was ill during the movie. In fact, he had leukemia. In fact, they realized he had leukemia while filming this movie.
One of the doctors that was on set diagnosed him.
With
really?
it.
Yeah,
and he died.
Because they used real doctors.
Yeah, he died just shortly after the film was completed. Yeah, very sad. The scene with them on the boat, everybody got seasick except for Jack. And even Danny DeVito to this day doesn't like the experience of it.
He throws up. That's funny.
And last thing I would mention on my tidbits here, during filming, a crew member running cables left a second-story window open at the Oregon State Mental Hospital, and the actual patient climbed through the bars and fell to the ground, injuring himself. And so the next day, of course, the Statesman Journal in Salem, Oregon, reported the incident with the headline on the front page, One flew out of the cuckoo's nest.
Ha 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 ha.
I know.
They did use real mental patients.
Real mental patients, yeah.
Yeah, some of the extras.
Each person on the shoot were assigned mental patients to hang out with.
To keep track of.
Had to keep track of your buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of things that we could have on these tidbits, but this podcast is only so long.
And some of them are going to come up, too.
Yeah. So that's all I have for tidbits. Eric, why don't you take us into the setup?
In 1963 Oregon, Randall McMurphy is incarcerated for the statutory rape of a 15-year-old girl going on 35, which he claims
her red beaver was right there.
Which he claims he committed under the assumption that she was an 18-year-old. With 5 previous arrests for assault, he feigns mental illness so he can be moved to a mental institution and avoid hard labor at the work farm. Well, there's something you don't see any more work farms. Yeah, the medical ward. Yeah, right. The medical ward is dominated by the cold, passive-aggressive Nurse Ratched, who intimidates her patients and maintains control through fear. The other patients include young, anxious, sluttering Billy Bibbett, Charlie Cheswick, who is prone to temper tantrums, delusional, childlike Martini, the articulate and repressed Dale Harding, belligerent and profane Max Tabor, epileptics Jim Seffelt and Bruce Fredrickson, quiet but violent-minded Scanlon, tall, deaf-mute Native American Chief Bromden, and several others with chronic conditions. Ratched sees McMurphy's lively, rebellious presence as a threat to her authority, to which she responds by confiscating and rationing the patient's cigarettes and suspending their card-playing privileges. McMurphy finds himself in a battle of wills against Ratched. One night, he makes a bet with the other inmates that he can escape by tearing a hydrotherapy fountain off its hinges and throwing it out the window, but is unable to lift it. Shortly after, he steals a charter bus, picks up his girlfriend Candy, and escapes with several patients to go fishing, exposing them to the outside world and encouraging them to discover their abilities and find self-confidence. Okay.
A lot there.
Lot
A lot
there.
to unpack here. I guess a big question to start off with is, do you guys think that McMurphy is malingering?
Malingering?
Yeah,
You mean faking it?
Faking it.
Yeah, of course he is. He's not crazy.
Just to a certain extent. To a certain extent, I think he is. But I do also think there is some type of mental illness in him, just based on what we'll see throughout the movie. Some of the things he does and opportunities he has to actually leave, and he doesn't take them.
I don't think that's mental illness.
Well,
I think he's actually drawing a bond with these people.
Yeah, well, he's not allowed to leave.
He has opportunity to leave, but instead he gets on the bus. He could have ditched all those patients
easily.
Get on the bus, Gus.
He knew he was going to go back. He even planned it because he's like, well, we'll show him who's crazy, and he takes the bus. So I think there's some aspects of his personality that are off.
I agree. What we don't really get here is the character that was designed by Ken Kesey was a Korean War veteran, and he essentially has PTSD, and so that's why he has the violent outbursts, and that's why he's gotten himself into trouble with 5 assaults, and that doesn't do anything for the statutory rape, but whatever. Yeah, so I believe he's got issues. I don't know if he has a lot more sense about himself than what he shows.
I disagree with you. I don't think he has any mental issues at all.
Really?
I think he's just a bad egg. I mean, a criminal is a criminal is a criminal. They are going to do criminal acts. You think every one of them needs to be put in a mental hospital? No. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's working the system. And you ask Ken, why did he steal the bus and not leave? Because he knows that any act he commits, especially with the group there, that's going to make it seem like he is more nuts.
Yeah.
And he even said on the boat, they can't throw us in jail. When his girlfriend asked him, you're going to steal his boat, you're going to send him right in the slammer. He's like, no, they're not. They're just going to send us right back. He knows what he's doing. He's 100% cognitive. 100%.
Yeah, but at the same time, the guy who's the head of the hospital there, he doesn't think he's crazy and is willing to send him back multiple times. Nurse Ratched has it.
She wants to fuck with him. She wants to fuck with him. Bottom line, she knows he's not crazy. She just wants to fuck with him. That's it. It's a power trip.
The other 2 doctors that are part of the panel do say that he has violent tendencies.
Okay, but that is a cop-out bullshit about putting people in an asylum. Everyone's got violent tendencies. They're called criminals. People who have violent tendencies commit crimes. And where do people go that commit crimes? They go to jail. But he's like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be on a work farm. So he plays the loony card. And he's able to get himself put here in 1963. Whether that would play today, I don't know.
No.
But no, he's not crazy. Not at all.
It's
but
100% sane.
Set him off, though. So when you have certain things that set you off and become more violent, that is a mental condition.
He's got a bad so he should be in an asylum?
To a certain extent. I mean, like Ted said about him having, been in war, and a lot of those people come back and they're just not the same.
Well, of course.
They have some issues.
In 1960,
he's coming back from the Korean War.
So they
This would be Vietnam if it's in this
Vietnam is just starting in 63. We got advisors over there.
They never say what year we're, because this plays off it being more later than the book.
The federal government or the VA didn't know how to diagnose PTSD, so he would have been considered crazy,
criminal, not crazy, criminal. He never ever mentioned any of his time in any type of war, military conflict.
That's one of the failings. That's one of the failings of the writing here, is that they left that particular aspect.
Well, it changes the aspect of the movie.
True.
Yes. Everyone knows.
He does come off malingering.
Well, he's not crazy.
But he's also not an evil character.
No.
That's why I'm saying that there might be a mental illness here, because of the fact that, for the most part, he just wants to enjoy life. He wants to have fun. All he cares about is watching baseball.
Well, he doesn't want to be on a work farm, and he doesn't want to be in jail. he looks at this as like, hey, this is like a country club. I can play the system. He didn't know what he was in for when he was incarcerated into this
I think
institution.
He didn't know what he was in for, but where I will say, he's smart enough to know what Nurse Ratchet's doing.
Of course he does. Absolutely.
Is not helping any of these people.
Of course, he knows that. All right, we can spend the whole podcast talking about is he crazy or not crazy. Let's move on.
That's why I wanted to posit that to start with. So
my thoughts as we move along with this podcast, I think maybe that situation makes him more crazy. In fact, it probably leads him to totally lose it.
But that situation would make anyone crazy.
I would agree with you, but with someone like him who already is borderline, anger issues.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's not taking medication for these, anger issues.
And Ratchet knows that.
Of course.
So let's go on to the other major character here before we really delve deep. Nurse Ratchet was number 5 on the AFI's 50 worst villains of all time.
Who are the other 4?
The Wicked Witch of the West, Hannibal Lecter, Darth Vader, and
Forrest Gump.
I don't. Hold on. I can pull it up. I had it pulled up.
I agree with Forrest Gump. No, okay. Mr. Potter, number 2.
He's in the top 10.
Mr. Potter?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay.
John Wayne.
Here's the top 10. Hannibal Lecter's number 1. Norman Bates is number 2. Darth Vader's number 3. The Wicked Witch of the West is number 4. Nurse Ratchet is number 5. Mr. Potter is number 6. Alex Forrest, played by Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, is number 7. Phyllis Dietrichson, played by Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity. Regan McNeil from The Exorcist. And the Evil Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So, Nurse Ratchet's number 5.
That's a really interesting list.
It is. If you go through the whole list, it's
is
really
it
cool.
Is it a little outdated?
A little bit,
Okay.
because Heath Ledger's Joker is not included.
Okay, but we can
before.
we can agree. Obviously, Nurse Ratchet is on the list and probably would remain in the top 10. Now,
Yes,
well,
definitely.
this one I debate.
She is diabolical.
Oh man, I can wrestle with this one.
I hate
she
Nurse
is
Ratchet.
well. I understand that she's kind of cute, but she's
That's
she is
neither here nor
I know
there.
she's sadistic.
Yes,
Clearly sadistic.
exactly.
Clearly a control freak. I don't know. When I'm looking at that type of a what was it, villain? AFI villains?
Villain. Yeah.
Well, I guess. I don't know.
She is. She's complete. And we'll talk about the moment that sets her apart from
Mr. Potter?
everybody else and what gets her into the top 5. There's one moment that gets her into the top 5. Everything leads up to that moment. I believe she doesn't give one shit about actually helping any of these people achieve their goals.
I agree. Clearly.
I think she gets off on the power and the control. She is evil. I have no problem with her being in the top 5.
I disagree with you on that, only because I don't know if she's completely evil. I think there's layers to her that are a little bit different. I think she is more of a control freak and wants things her way or the highway. If those things help somebody get to where they need to get to, then so be it. They trust her for some reason. They trust her to be the head of the nurses for a reason, to lead these groups. I would take it that she's had some people leave. I'm not sure for the better or not, but I mean, this is a very small window. We don't get to see what happens before or after, though I have an opinion about what happens at the end. Nobody challenges her. I think she's fine, and she's okay with somebody eventually leaving the group, as long as it's on her terms, right? Which I don't know if that's evil or not.
She has her own prisoners that she can play with.
What makes this interesting is that most of these people, they self-admitted themselves.
They're voluntary.
They're voluntarily committed.
They can leave anytime they want.
Which sets him off like a firecracker.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
which I know we're
Oh,
kind of getting
yeah.
ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
but
just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's what makes
She's-
her different is the fact that she's able to manipulate these guys to
Exactly.
stay.
And that's diabolical.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
That is diabolically evil. I mean, she's playing with people who are the most vulnerable. These men are vulnerable people because they are voluntarily committed. She essentially gaslights some of these guys,
Yeah. Oh, clearly.
especially the guy whose wife, because she continually brings up that the guy's wife, and because he didn't do anything to his wife, but she continually brings it up, and just to set him off. And McMurphy sees it, and he's on to her reindeer games, and he sees that she's the warden of this little thing, and she's just playing with them. She's definitely she's diabolically evil. There is no redeeming quality to her.
Do you think top 5?
Yeah, I do because of the way she preys on vulnerable people and people who trust her to help her.
I don't think they trust her. They don't have a choice.
Exactly.
She is in control of the wing.
And she manipulates the doctors. And just as McMurphy is manipulating the doctors, she's manipulating the doctors too. That's where these two characters are intertwined. I think he's manipulating, but she's manipulating too. And I think she gets off on the fact that McMurphy is onto her and how she can try to fuck with him.
And control him.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he has the same intentions with her. His goal
Exactly.
is to fuck with her.
Right.
So her intentions is to fuck him back.
He becomes sympathetic with his fellow people. And it's just, yeah.
Because initially, he doesn't like them. Because
No.
he's there, he's playing the card game, and he's getting frustrated with them because you got one guy who keeps on saying, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me.
Mancini. Or
Breaking
Martini,
up his cigarettes
Martini.
and stuff.
Yeah, Martini.
Yeah.
It's a nickel because he broke it in two.
Where it's like,
It's
no.
a 10-cent limit.
But McMurphy has humanity, and he starts to learn how to help them and to get them somewhere. She has no desire to help them get anywhere.
We see that best with the Chief. We see at the beginning.
He's on her reindeer games too.
The one guy he attaches himself to is the Chief.
Yes.
Because he's supposedly deaf and dumb, which
right.
We find out later that
he
is not the case. But you like the fact that he kind of like tries to get him to do the basketball. Hey, hold the basketball, put it in the hole, in the hoop, and you're buying into this situation where it looks like he's trying to help this guy who's deaf and dumb, and she doesn't like it. She's watching this from the sidelines, going,
"Oh yeah,
that's my job. If I decide to help him, I will do that."
So evil.
I don't know if it's so evil.
God, that is so menacing and so evil.
I've had bosses that have been like that.
Yeah, really. I was going to say, sometimes that's a little bit of life.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if she's top 5. I think that's a little.
I won't say that she isn't evil, but I'm not going to put her in the top 5 of all time. Top 20, maybe.
Yeah, if she was actually administering like electric shock therapy and like getting off on it. Well, but she's not directly. That's the staff and the doctors and the orderlies.
And that's what makes her dangerous and evil.
Well, think about when these people get their electric shock treatment. Is she the number one reason why it happens? So I don't think it is.
No, she's the one that sends them there.
We don't know that. She's not the administrator. She is just the head nurse there.
But it's obvious that whatever she tells them, they do.
That might have been, for all we know, normal treatment protocol in 1963. So the fact that, they were the instigators, this is the punishment.
Yeah, and she runs a tight ship, and that's because
very tight ship, right?
That's because she has to. I mean, that's why I don't think she's completely evil. We don't know what she's experienced before all this either. we don't know if she's had an incident where she had to take, total control over the situation because she doesn't want something to happen like what happened in the past. And that's where I'm going to get, when we get to the end, that's what I want to talk about a little bit more then.
Louise Fletcher, to get herself into this role, she approached this from the point of view that she's right. And I think that's why she won the Academy Award.
But she even says that this character is not completely evil, that this character has levels.
Right. That's what makes this perfect.
The level for her is control. She wants complete control. She is a control freak at any means possible.
But I think if you become better under her control, like if you listen to her and you do what she says, and then you're allowed to leave, she's like, see, I was able to do that. And that's what lets her keep her job, because she's not going to be able to keep her job if nobody leaves.
Why would she want people to leave if you're voluntarily there? You're paying.
Exactly.
Because there's always going to be somebody that's going to come in. There's always going to be patients.
Voluntarily?
Voluntary or involuntary, there's always going to be patients.
Okay, so people like Nurse Ratched are the reasons that the whole system was shut down, because they treated people horribly.
So I think that the problem here is also the timing of this movie. So they say 63, but to be honest with you, it doesn't have a 63 feel to it. It feels like the 70s. And I think that's what throws a little bit of it off, because by the 70s, we're turning the corner a little bit on all this.
Well, and also too, Nurse Ratched's hairdo is from the 40s.
It's from the 40s.
So it's
the prim and proper,
right.
hairdo.
So that kind of muddies the
control.
Exactly, it muddies the waters. But the actual therapies that take place are from the 60s.
Well, you know what? As I'm looking at a picture, she kind of has a Jackie O look to her. I think it's of the 60s.
The hairdo is definitely the 40s.
Yeah, the hairdo is the 40s.
The 40s, 50s, and 60s is kind of a muddled time for women when it comes to hairdos and outfits, too. Like when she's leaving and she's put on that black jacket and her black cap. I've seen that in the 50s and 60s. Bottom line is she's not a trendsetter when it comes to fashion. Let's be honest. She's a trendsetter when it comes to control. And she has control.
Well, trendsetter in a hospital in the 60s, let's be honest, it's a uniform. Okay.
Exactly.
You're going to have a uniform look. And then you have to deal with the orderlies and things of that nature. And they're also kind of
sadistic.
A little bit. It's kind of interesting because I watched throughout this movie, and at times they seem to be like, okay, they're playing hoops and stuff like that and having a good time. But then there's other times where it looks like they're almost wanting them to challenge them to get into a fight.
Have you noticed this backs my theory in life, one of my theories? If we're talking about the orderlies and the way they dress? No? No one saw it?
No. Enlighten us.
I don't trust people in bow ties.
They had bow ties? I didn't notice that.
They had bow ties.
They do.
They had bow ties.
Yeah, they are definitely her minions.
Yeah.
Except they're not funny like Minions.
I wish they would have had a little bit more personality.
Like Scatman?
Yeah, kind of a little bit more like Scatman. I mean, I don't mind them having a little bit of an edge and picking a fight. There's one orderly that kind of, he has a little bit of personality.
Washington?
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have seen a little bit more personalities out of the orderlies, a little bit more of a threat. Maybe feel more threat, from them.
The other thing that Ratched does, she doesn't allow them to think for themselves.
That's true.
And so when McMurphy's trying to have something as simple as having the World Series game turned on the radio.
And she could see that he's going to get all the votes needed to watch it, and that's why she ends the meeting, because she doesn't want him to win.
He's trying to get them to think for themselves, because he sees when they start to think for themselves, they start to get better. McMurphy's not stupid by any stretch of the imagination.
Of course not. No one said he was.
Well, he doesn't make good choices, that's for sure.
He doesn't make good choices, no. He has impulse control issues, and that's one of his major problems. But when they start to think for themselves, all of a sudden things aren't so bad for these guys. and that they could actually exist on the outside. And it's really something. And McMurphy is uneducated, and he doesn't know how to say that to the doctors. But he calls her out when he meets with the doctors.
Yeah, he calls her out all right.
She's a piece
Yeah.
of work, isn't she?
Yeah.
And the doctors seem to like, yeah, we kind of know that she is, but we don't. But
she's the best nurse in
That they've had.
in Oregon
Correct.
or whatever.
Because it takes a certain person to do the job that she does. It's not like
What, keeping people in there so they keep paying?
Yeah,
not just
thick-skinned. Yeah.
not just that. We say that, but we already said this earlier. The doctor, he wants him gone. He wants him back on the work farm. He's not paying. He's not a
No, the government's
guy.
paying. Yeah.
The government's paying, but he doesn't think he should be there. I don't look at it that, but I think like I said, she runs the place a little bit more. I would have liked to see a little bit more doctor interaction to find out a little bit more of why he a little bit more sessions. I like that first session. I would have liked to see a couple more sessions and see how that dynamic played out. But I want to jump because I think we spent a lot of time with the two leads here, but we have these characters that we need to look at, like Billy. Billy has the stutter, and he also seems to have, confidence issues.
Yeah.
And Nurse Ratched plays on that.
Clearly.
Oh, fuck yeah, she does.
I mean,
she's
she
the
knows
reason
his
he
mother?
stutters.
She knows his mother?
She's the reason he stutters.
Oh, you
Her
think
and her and his mother are the reason that he stutters.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's
and
evil.
I wonder if he's not even there by his own accord, but his mother convinced.
No, he tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, he did have a suicide attempt.
He tried to commit suicide.
That's why we have the ending that
That's why he's in there. His mom probably convinced him that he needed to go there along with Nurse Ratched, because we find out that they're friends. And we find out what happened is Billy tried to propose to a girl, and she said no, and he tried to kill himself. And he didn't tell his mom about the fact that he was even dating this girl. But Nurse Ratched is not him for the fact that he tried to kill himself. Her thing is that you didn't tell your mother, because she knows that his mother is the thing that's going to keep him in.
Yep. His mother has a lot of control in his life. That's why he didn't tell his mother about
fucking diabolical.
Yeah. Well, that makes it sound like the mother is evil as well.
You can tell that. You don't even have to see her on screen to know what type of a person she is.
I would have liked to probably had one scene where the mom comes and visits.
You don't even need to.
No, probably need to, but it would be kind of cool.
Everything that you know about her is right along.
Especially if she's friends with Ratched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe have just a scene where his mom is talking and Ratched on the background. And you just know that they're in it together. Just something to kind of add to that, because I think his character is the third most important character.
He's the most innocent.
Yeah, very much.
He is innocence personified in this movie. If you're talking about like Lord of the Flies, the Christ-like character, the innocent character in this movie is Billy. Billy is that character. Billy's
so much different than everybody else that's in here.
Yeah, he's intelligent.
The other ones are intelligent too, and that's what McMurphy says. Exactly. Why aren't you here? You should be out there chasing, like tail and beaver, chasing stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
The beaver's right there in your face. Yeah.
Right in your face.
His abuse is kind of more at himself, whereas the other ones are kind of like almost to others to a certain extent. I mean, because then you have, except for Martini, Martini is a kind of like we said in the thing, he's kind of childlike. His intelligence level is probably very low.
It's below Forrest Gump level. It's below 69, IQ 69.
It's my least favorite character in the movie, to be honest.
Oh, he is what he is. I mean, Danny DeVito does a hell of a job with the role. I think he's innocent. He's an innocent person. I mean, he's not a harm to anybody.
No.
He's just got a childlike mentality.
He just,
I don't think he should be. I doubt it if he put himself in there. Somebody else had to probably put him in because of his childlike.
Most likely, that's what would have happened. Is probably the family was embarrassed by him, and he didn't have a mom like Forrest Gump's mom, and that's what they did to people like that.
Yeah, in
They
that
would
era.
they would put him in an asylum. That's harsh, and that's a harsh truth, but that is the truth.
The one that I think it's interesting is the two that are there, Dale and Charlie. Those are the ones that I'm like, why are you guys here? Like, I know Cheswick, he has the temper tantrums and things of that nature. He loses it. He's the one that loses it during the cigarettes.
Fire the cigarettes, right?
Because these are guys who have committed themselves and can leave at any time. But especially, Dale, because Dale, first of all, is Dale homosexual?
I don't think so. I think he's a paranoid personality. And I think that basically he's somebody that in today's day and age could be treated with regular therapy sessions. And it's just unfortunate that he's in the situation that he's in now. He's got paranoia. I don't think he's a paranoid schizophrenic, but he's a paranoid personality who is also has violent outbursts.
I would like to have known how many years or months, maybe weeks, who knows, each of these patients were in there for. I think that would lend to like the shockness of how much control Nurse Ratched has.
Have you been here like 6 months, 3 years, kind of?
Yeah. So if someone like, let's say like Dale, who's like that, how long has he been committed there?
Longer than he should have been is the way I've interpreted it.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any help. The other person who's in there non-voluntarily is Tabor, Christopher Lloyd's character, because he is violent. Okay, so there's a difference between McMurphy and Tabor. Tabor is a violent criminal. He is violent. And you can tell because he preys upon Dale.
But he doesn't do anything violent. He just makes comments, but he really doesn't actually commit to any violence while he's there.
We don't find out why he's there. My guess is he murdered somebody.
Well, that's interesting because throughout the whole time he's there, he's never engaged in the fights. In fact, he's kind of timid.
Instigating them.
A little bit.
He'll say stuff and kind of, but when it comes to the actual throwing of punches and getting into like fisticuffs, he kind of backs down. So I don't know if he really is that kind of person. Maybe he should be that person. But even like when they come in later on and, they have the party, he's the one that's afraid.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah, I don't know how he's a bad guy because the only time that I see him be bad is just picking on Dale. That's all he does. He never is physical. He's never a physical threat. At least not throughout the movie, he's not. And he's with the other two guys.
Ratched never stops him.
And Ratched, no, because she wants to see how it all plays out. And then you have his two buddies that are just, it's hard to tell why they're there. I mean,
I think didn't Eric say that they're epileptics, which is not that's not surprising that they would have been put into an institution because they didn't understand in '63 what epilepsy really was. So it would look like that they were having fits. And Vincent, I like Vincent Schiavelli. I think he's a good actor. They're not stupid either. And technically, now we know with medication, they could have lived on the outside in the outside world. But yeah, no, it's an interesting group of people. And even Dr. Scanlon, the guy with the beard, he's not stupid either.
Dr. Scanlon? Well, on the boat, all of them are doctors.
Well, yeah, on the boat.
Yes, but no, Dr. Scanlon was the guy with the beard. He wasn't. He was a patient.
Okay. But yeah, I thought that's what he was. But he's not stupid either. There's a handful of people that actually deserve to be here.
I think it's interesting that, first of all, of course, he talks about escaping. He tries to lift that water thing. And I guess Jack Nicholson actually did, attempt to really pull that off.
Bad choice.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that he sneaks off just to go on a bus to then steal a boat to go fishing with all these guys.
Do you think that's kind of like a play to mess with the director? Because on his initial interview, he's talking about the fish that the guy caught in the photo. Yes.
He does talk about the fish, but because I think that he's on to this whole thing that if these guys are on the outside and they can think for themselves and they're doing normal things, that they're okay. And he's showing them that they can be okay. I think that's his play.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I really do. I don't think that there's any ill intent I mean, of course, he wants to see Cherry, but this is not ill will that causes him to do this.
He does this because they have determined that he is not crazy. And he knows they're about ready to send him back to the work farm.
And this is a crazy thing to do.
And this is a crazy thing to do. He even says, I will show them crazy.
Yeah, right.
And I agree with Eric to a certain extent. He does this, too, to kind of stick it up the doctor's fish picture, because when they come back, they're showing the fish. They're like, look at what we caught here. In the meantime, of course, he's not fishing. He's trying to have sex with Candy.
Right.
And, of course, he allows one of them to basically steer the boat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he's like scared out of his mind.
And then Dale takes over, and they end up
fighting
going in circles. They go in circles.
Well, they also know that he's having sex with Candy, so they all want to look and see what's going on here.
Martini wants to watch.
But I like I like the beginning. Like, we're a bunch of doctors here.
Doctor,
it's awesome.
Doctor.
But they all play along,
and they're all normal. They all are, based on
exactly
the situation. They're all acting relatively normal.
I think that his purposes are dual here. Where, he's trying to say, oh, you want to see crazy, I'll show you crazy. But he's also become attached to these guys. Yes. And he sees that they're not crazy.
To be honest,
they're not the guy that dances to the music that isn't playing. Or they're not, the guy who sits there and shakes. Or the guy they call the general that's in the wheelchair and he has no idea where he's at.
There are obviously some crazy people.
Right. He knows that these guys could operate in the outside.
But I also think that there's a thing that makes him want to stay with these people. Because to a certain extent, he's the opposite of Nurse Ratched in the sense that
they respect him more than they respect Ratched.
He wants to help them.
Yeah.
He does want to help them, but also I think he does it for his own purposes, for his own...
True.
I think he does it because he wants to feel important. Here in the inside, he is the guy that they look up to. And he kind of wants to show Nurse Ratched that his way is better than her way. And that's why I don't think he wants to leave. He could just take off right now and go to Canada if he wants to go to Canada at this particular time. He doesn't have to stay on the boat and come back. But I think he needs this to a certain extent. There's just a few things here that he needs sex with Candy, of course.
Oh, of course.
And he needs his baseball. But if he gets those kind of things in there, he would probably stay in that mental institution for the rest of his life.
Think about that scene where she pulls the rug on the bet on the vote, and he goes over the TV and he's just watching a blank screen and calling it like and all the people come over and they're all seeing what he's seeing, if you will. They're playing into the image, which is going completely against what Nurse Ratched was doing. He won. He didn't get to watch the World Series, but he won. He won them over, and that set her off.
She knows it, too.
And here's the thing. Neither one of their approaches is the right approach, but a combination of their approaches is what would work in this probably the best.
Yeah.
They're both extremists. One wants to have fun and party like a rock star, and the other one wants the control. Everything is going to be this way every time. No, we're not going to vary in any type of way. And I think they both are not willing to bend.
Not at all.
Why should Nurse Ratched bend? He's a patient.
Correct.
There's a reason why he's here.
Correct.
But I think if it was even a doctor or another nurse, she would butt heads and go at it.
Probably.
She would never acquiesce to somebody else's authority because she thinks that she's smarter than the doctor running the place.
Probably so. So, Eric, why don't we go ahead and go to the build?
All right, let's go to the build. So after an orderly tells him that his sentence term does not apply in the mental institution and can become indefinite, McMurphy questions why no one told him this before. He also learns that he, Chief, and Tabor are the only non-chronic patients who have been involuntarily committed. The others have committed themselves voluntarily, but are too afraid to leave. After Cheswick bursts into a fit and demands his cigarettes from Ratched, McMurphy starts a fight with the orderlies, and Chief intervenes to help him. McMurphy, Chief, and Cheswick are sent to the disturbed ward after the fight, and Chief reveals to McMurphy that he can speak and hear normally. having fake deaf mutants to avoid engaging with anyone. The two make plans to escape to Canada together. McMurphy is subjected to electroconvulsive therapy and returns to the ward, pretending to be brain damaged before revealing that the treatment has made him even more determined to defeat Ratchet. McMurphy and Chief plan to throw a secret Christmas party for their friends after Ratchet and the orderlies leave for the night before making their escape.
Electroshock therapy is inhumane.
Yeah, but it's not disturbing because number one, it's a movie, and
Right.
number two, this is treatment of the era. So
Yeah,
if
it
you
definitely was.
if it was, and if you didn't include it, obviously it wouldn't
Right,
be
it's not-
realistic.
Yeah,
it wasn't
no.
treatment
But
of
yes.
the era. They were still doing this type of treatment.
Up
You
to
know,
70s.
no, in the 2000s, they're still
Ooh.
Yeah,
Electroshock therapy?
it's the absolute last
I have the home
resort.
kit.
Oh, do you? Yeah, the home kit. Yeah.
That's why you're as normal as you are.
It explains so much.
It's shocking for somebody like me.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's because I have a feeling that if I was then in that time frame, it would have probably happened to me.
Oh, they'd light you up 10,000 volts.
It's horrible. This is, as to like Ken said, in today's parlance, this is the absolute last resort, and it's bad, but it's not the worst. But see, here's the thing, and this is one of the things that makes Ratchet as cruel as she is. Cheswick knows what's going to happen.
Oh, he does. Yes. He's been
And
down
he's-
this road before.
And he's begging her not to do it. And all he's been asking for is to be listened to. And she refuses to listen to him.
Or he wants the cigarettes.
Because he wants his cigarettes. And because of that, she sends him to electroshock therapy.
Control.
This is one of the big steps to we see exactly how evil she really is. I feel so bad for Cheswick because he's begging her not to do it, and she does it anyway.
But it did shut him up
Well, fuck yeah.
because
Because,
he's quite annoying.
We established that she's evil.
Very
But
evil.
what does that say about everybody else? Because she doesn't make that final determination. She isn't the one that sends him to.
But we've
That
already
makes it
seen that the doctors give in to her.
Which is weird
And whatever
because
she says.
I think they trust her opinion. She's
Trust her
manipulated.
opinion,
yeah.
She has manipulated the doctors
Oh, hell
to
yeah.
trusting her opinion over theirs in certain instances.
Yep.
And it seemed to be a very quick turnaround. You would think that after this incident, they would be put into a room, like an isolation room.
Doesn't Mac say that he was in there for 3 days?
I don't
Wasn't
remember.
that? I don't remember that.
I want to say.
I wouldn't
I
doubt
want to
it.
say that he said that they put 10,000 watts into me for 3 days.
Was it
Oh,
3
yeah,
days?
But I'm talking before that. I'm talking before
Oh,
that. Why the doctor doesn't interview each one of them to see how this all played out? Because not each one
They
of them
don't.
deserved it. Maybe the two. There's a chance that I think that McMurphy probably might have deserved it. Well, not deserved it because you never deserve that.
No one deserves electroshock therapy.
Right, nobody deserves that. But if there's somebody that deserves some type of punishment, let's say isolation or something like that, it's McMurphy because he does start the fights.
yeah.
So
This is sick. And by Cheswick's reaction and the reaction of everybody else, the other patients, she does this quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. This is an intimidation factor. This is a control factor. This is
Yeah.
why they don't revolt against her.
Exactly.
kind of surprised she can get away with it with people that are voluntarily there. I can understand involuntary, but I'm just so surprised about the voluntary one.
She has complete control over them, mind control, where they don't even leave. That's the
But
thing.
You would think that one person outside of McMurphy that would come in previously and stuff would have challenged us before. There's got to be
Apparently
stronger
not.
personality. I guess not.
Apparently
Or
not.
We find out
pussies.
he did. Chief talks about it. I think it's awesome that we find out that Chief just doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
Because he knows what's going on, and he's just not going to play the game.
People leave him alone.
Exactly. His dad was an alcoholic, and his dad was the chief. His dad was the chief of the tribe. and he succumbed to alcoholism, and Chief killed him.
Okay.
But also they're on tribal. I would imagine they would be on tribal land, even in the 60s. So how did they get someone like him to be in this hospital?
Okay, so that's a federal government thing, because that's the Department of Indian
Interior.
Affairs.
Yeah, Indian Affairs.
Department of Interior. So they would have tried him in federal court because it would have been a federal crime. Because murder is a state crime, but if it's on tribal land, it's a federal crime. So he would have been sentenced to the mental institution because he portrayed himself as deaf and dumb and an alcoholic. And plus, at the time, Native Americans were still treated as like that they were
second-class citizens. Yeah,
inferior. We didn't give a shit about what happened to tribal lands. It was lawless.
I'm just kind of surprised that he was able to get away that he was deaf and dumb, especially considering that if he was tried federally, they would have known that he wasn't.
We also don't know how long he's been in there.
The reason why I say that is because if he's on trial, there's got to be witnesses to the crime that know that, the family that know that he talked before.
You really think the other Native Americans are gonna tell the federal government what about somebody else?
We're doing a little deep dive here into
too much, maybe a deep dive.
They're not.
But it shows that at this point that he really trusts McMurphy.
Of course, to open up to him like that, yeah.
Right. Juicy fruit, So.
Juicy fruit.
He sees that Mac is trying to do good, and he sees that Mac's trying to change things and trying to help people. And because Mac's the only person that's ever taken an interest in him, because the orderlies don't. I mean, you see their attitude towards Chief, that they're just like, what are you doing?
Why are you
with
talking
him?
to him? He can't
Why
understand.
you even talk to him? He doesn't know any better. He's deaf and dumb. Mac's the only person that's taken to try to even interact with him. So yeah, he trusts him and he has a kinship with him. I think this is a beautiful relationship between Chief and Mac.
Yeah, it's a good little relationship. Yeah.
One of the best relationships in movies is the relationship between Mac and Chief.
Good.
And
it could have been a little bit more, I think.
I think it's as close to perfect as possible.
I don't know if I would say perfect.
It touches my heart in a way very few others do.
You would think, though, that people would now figure it out, because he does seem to act differently throughout the rest of the movie. And he doesn't play the deaf and dumb kind of guy anymore. I mean, nobody notices when he has the smiles or that he's engaged a little bit more than he has in the past. I just feel like that's kind of weird that nobody notices this type of thing. But
nobody cares. And that's also an indictment onto the Native American situation. Nobody cares.
I don't know if I would agree with that, because if somebody was playing deaf and dumb and I saw that somebody was acting differently, you've been playing us. Because they want to prove that somebody's not who they say they are. I mean, even back in the 60s, that would be the case here.
Not with Native Americans.
I don't know. I still think...
and that's part of this. That's part of this that's underlying that doesn't really get brought up until we start to realize the Chief can talk and hear. Because at the beginning of the movie, the music is kind of Native American.
It is. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
So there is part of this that is part of the Native American experience. Nobody cares. And I think that's at the root of what's going on in this asylum. Nobody cares. These people are thrown away. They're considered less than. If we were in India, they would be the untouchables. These people are unworthy. They're trash.
I think you're going to a little too deep on that part, because I just
not
don't
really.
See anywhere. Well, I mean, you're going by what you normally do. You're going by the history of the world outside of this movie. I don't see anything in this movie that actually is pointing at that. He's a deaf and dumb character. What are they supposed to do?
I understand that that's what I'm doing, but you have to look at what Ken Kesey is trying to say with his book and what they're
I'm not going by the book. I will not go by the book. I will go by the movie.
Please listen. what Ken Kesey's trying to make with the book and what the screenwriters are doing in adapting the book to the movie. The time and the space and everything that exists around this is what has led these people to be in the situation that they're in. You can't ignore that. Because let's just take it. The guy who rented them the boat, if he knew that they were from the mental institution or the asylum, he would never have let them take that boat.
I think he does know that they're from the mental institution.
No. He didn't really rent them the boat.
They just took it.
They just took it.
What's
he going to try and do? Stop a boat full of a bunch of men? I mean, at that point, that's why
something off about them.
That's why the police came.
That's why they were waiting for him. They knew
the
they
police,
were there because
the police came. The police came is because they escaped from the asylum.
Right?
How would they know they were there? Of all the places in the world, they said, "Oh,
because
they must have gone fishing."
A bunch of people just stole the boat.
Somebody just stole the boat.
They come there, they see the bus, they're like, "Let's run the plates." Okay, hey.
He let him have the boat. He realized,
how's he going to stop him?
Yeah,
how's he going to stop him?
I don't have any reservations for any doctors taking a boat.
Right.
He knew that they were all off. So, But anyway, that was in the past of the movie. We need to move forward on the movie. In fact, let's go ahead and go to Sticking the Landing because I think we need to wrap this baby up.
Sticking the Landing. All right. McMurphy sneaks Candy and her friend Rose into the ward, each bringing bottles of alcohol for the party, and bribes the night orderly Turkle to allow the party. McMurphy and the chief prepare to escape, inviting Billy to come with them. Billy refuses, but asks for a date with Candy. McMurphy arranges for him to have sex with her. McMurphy and the others get drunk, and McMurphy falls asleep instead of escaping with the chief. Ratchet arrives in the morning to find the ward in disarray. Most patients have passed out. She discovers Billy and Candy together and aims to embarrass Billy in front of everyone. Billy manages to overcome his stutter and stands up to Ratchet. When she threatens to tell his mother, Billy cracks under the pressure and reverts to stuttering before Ratchet orders he be locked up in a separate room as punishment. McMurphy punches an orderly when trying to escape out a window with Chief, causing the other orderlies to intervene. Suddenly, Billy kills himself by slitting his throat with broken glass, causing a huge commotion. Ratchet tries to control the situation by calling for the day's routine to continue as usual, but her nonchalant reaction engages McMurphy, who begins strangling her. The orderlies subdue McMurphy, saving Ratchet's life. Sometime later, Ratchet is wearing a neck brace and speaking weakly, and McMurphy is nowhere to be found, leading to rumors that he escaped. Later that night, Chief sees McMurphy being returned to his bed. He initially elated that McMurphy has kept his promise not to escape without him, before discovering that McMurphy has been lobotomized. After tearfully embracing McMurphy, Chief smothers him to death with a pillow. He then rips the hydrotherapy fountain off its mounting and throws it through the window, as McMurphy had earlier attempted. He escapes with Tabor and the other inmates awakening to cheer him on. All goes south for Ratchet on this one, huh?
I'll go south for everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
McMurphy, of course, Chief, Nurse Ratchet, Billy, all these characters, everything has gone wrong. And it's really weird that, again, this comes back to why I think that McMurphy has no desire to leave in the first place. He has an opportunity to leave. He doesn't take it. He instead falls asleep.
Well, he helps Billy.
He helps Billy, but if it was so important for him to escape at that moment, he lets Billy have the fun that he has.
He cares.
I understand that
he cares about Billy.
And I get that. But I don't think he wants to escape. I think if Billy would have gone with him,
they would have escaped.
They would have escaped. It would have been him, Billy, and Chief. All three of them would have gone together.
Yep.
But because Billy is still not willing to do that, I think McMurphy's going to stay.
Because
I think that's why he falls asleep.
Because Mac knows that Billy doesn't deserve to be there.
But Billy does deserve to be there.
No, he doesn't.
We see that because Billy takes his own life.
He tried to commit suicide once, but Billy doesn't deserve to be in the
He
in the
deserves
asylum.
help, just not that type of help from Ratchet and that crew.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
He deserves to be in an institution,
But
just not that particular
unfortunately,
one.
in 1963, everyone is
That's
crowded into one
Asylum.
therapy. Things are not broken up individually
Because-
as they should be.
Because
Right.
Billy knows that he's not right. Even Billy says, I'm not ready. Because he knows that deep down inside, the wrong thing could happen. He will take his life.
He's also been convinced by his mom and Nurse Ratchet that he's not ready to leave.
I think, though, he knows inside himself that
This
he's
is
not.
manipulation. No.
I agree
Billy
to a certain extent.
should, of all the characters in this movie, Billy has no place in the asylum. He does not deserve to be in the asylum, but he's been convinced by his mom and Nurse Ratchet that this is where he needs to be because this is the safest place for him, because he can't exist on the outside, because he tried to kill himself, because he tried to have a relationship with a woman outside of the purview of his mother. And this is horrible. This is where it's despicable.
Okay, let's say he's released and he gets sent back out. What happens with him? Let's not, McMurphy, nobody was with him. It's just him. Is he going to be okay?
Yeah.
Just him.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be. I don't think he's strong enough.
I completely disagree.
I don't think he's strong enough. And here's the reason why I don't think he's strong enough. As soon as Nurse Ratchet lays into him, he kills himself.
Folds.
He folds quickly. If anybody on the outside does that to him on the outside, he folds quickly. The reason why he commits suicide is because a girl rejected him. Okay?
No, that's not why he committed suicide.
Because his mother found out?
You're talking initially, not...
And his mom found out. His mom told him that she most likely she was going to send him to the asylum with
and so
Nurse
he tried to commit
Ratchet.
suicide?
And so he tried to kill himself.
I thought it was the opposite of the other way. That's how we pronounced it at the beginning of the film.
Yeah. We find out that he could exist on the outside. Because when he comes out of the room, he can talk normally. He has coherent thoughts.
Because he just had sex.
No, it's because he was able to think for himself.
But then,
For the first time in his life, he was able to think for himself and do something he wanted to do.
But he folded so quickly, Ted. He folded very quickly.
Because he knows what's going to happen. And he knows that he's never going to get out.
And on the outside world, that's going to happen no matter who it is. Anybody who challenges him on the outside world. So you're telling me that as soon as he'd done with having sex, and if they would have left him go right after that situation, that he would have been fine? I don't agree with that. He wasn't ready to be... I don't think he should have been there. Don't get me wrong. That's not helping him. If he stays there, he's not going to get the help that he really, truly needs. He does need the help to get him to that point where he is going to never hurt himself.
I disagree.
As soon as somebody goes after him on the outside and lays into him, he's going to commit suicide. It doesn't matter if it's his mom or Nurse Ratchet.
We see what his triggers are. His trigger is his mother. The reason that he's institutionalized is because of his mother. She is even worse of a human than Nurse Ratchet is.
But does that change, though? Does that change when he leaves there? Does he never talk to his mother ever again?
If this happens where, let's say he has the night with Cherry, and he and Mac and Chief leave the next morning, he can exist on the outside.
As long as Mac and Chief stay with him.
As long as he doesn't have that influence of his mother over him.
To a certain extent, I agree with you. However, he's very interested in Candy. Very interested in Candy. And he asked, Mac, if he can, if he's going to marry her.
Right.
And he says no, because he's worried about how that will affect Billy. I don't think it's because of that Mac isn't interested in Candy as a long-term thing. I think he might be. I think he cares about Candy, actually. I think he tells Billy that he's not interested because it might set Billy off. And that's why he's telling him that, no, I'm not. And so that's why I'm saying I don't think Billy is completely ready, because let's say he does go with Chief and he goes with Mac to Canada. And let's say Candy goes with, and Candy chooses Mac over Billy. That might set Billy off. It really might set him off.
Boy, that's an interesting alternate ending there.
Well, I mean, it's a possibility. That's why Billy says he's not ready, in my opinion. Does his mom have something to do with it?
He says he's not ready because Nurse Ratched tells him he's not ready.
I think he knows deep down inside he's not ready. And I agree with what you're saying about Nurse Ratched and his mom. Here's the thing. Let's say he gets out by his own. Does he go back home to see mom, or does he live his own life? That's the thing, is I think he's always going to be dependent on mom. Mom has been there all his life, and he doesn't know how to live a life without mom. That's why he needs to be in a different location. He doesn't need to be here.
Which is why I'm saying that if he was away, he could survive.
He might be able to, but there still might be part of him that will still wonder how mom would think about all this.
His death is gut-wrenching.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Nobody sees it coming.
She kills him.
Well, I agree.
Nurse Ratched kills him because he thought for himself.
Yeah, but I don't think either one, her or Mac, intended for this to happen.
No, I don't. She knew what was going to happen.
Well, I don't think she knew what was going to happen.
I don't think she knew that he was going to kill himself, but I think that she knew that she was going to have him forever.
Yeah, but I don't think she knew she was going to kill him. That's not expected, but it obviously set everything off in the motion. Because everyone
let's be honest. I mean, the mom would probably be like, "Wait a second, what happened to my son? Why he was under your care?" You don't think so?
No, I don't think she gave two shits. Nope.
We're speculating about weird alternatives that are really not related to the movie.
We see how she plays him.
Yes.
And how Ratched just sends him over. She knows that she's going to send him over the deep end.
But don't forget that also Mac has a little to do with this too. Inadvertently,
he wants him to be free.
He wants him to be free, but he wants him to be free without really knowing what's going to happen because of it. He's not trained medically, or he doesn't go to school with this. He just thinks he knows what's right, just like Nurse Ratched here thinks what's right, and they're both wrong. They're both wrong. Again, as I said before, it's a combination of the two. So when Mac gives him something that he experiences and realizes this is what he wants, and then if all of a sudden it's taken away from him, he reacts the way he does. And the fact that Mac doesn't realize that could have happened. Mac didn't realize that was a possibility.
I agree with that. I agree that he doesn't realize that. I think, though, that she did know how he was going to react. She puts her finger on him and kills any spirit that's left inside of him. And that's why he does what he does.
I don't think she knows that he was going to react that way. I think she thought that when she laid down the law, that he was going to shrivel up and just go to his room, and then just starting tomorrow, everything would be back to what it was. Well, all she wants is everything to go back to the way it always is.
Right, with her controlling her little kingdom.
Right, but he had a different reaction. He didn't have the reaction she expected. So I don't think
she pushed him to it.
She did push him to it, and that's why what led to Mac choking her. And almost, man, that scene with her choking, I actually thought maybe he's going to do it.
Yeah,
I was hoping he would.
But part of me thought that the actress was going to die too. In real life, that looked extremely real.
The first time I saw the movie, I hoped that he was going to kill her. And this is one of the scenes that won her the Academy Award. I can't tell you the emotion that I feel when I still watch this movie. It literally breaks my heart, and it tears me up a little bit that the fact what she does to him and how he completely caves, and he starts stuttering again. The first time he starts to stutter, I still get choked up. It's so horrible, and she gets what's got coming. She's got coming to her.
I have a theory on this.
Okay.
There's Ratched. So at the end of the movie, she's back. She's got the neck brace on.
Yes.
And she's giving the medication out with a smile, not like she did before. Now she's giving it out with a smile, not because she's still sadistic, but I think the events that just happened traumatized her.
No.
She was almost choked to death. She caused somebody to die. I think she might have been slightly changed here.
No.
Because she did
No.
not smile before.
Absolutely not.
How? Why would you say absolutely now?
She's now in 100% complete control.
Well, I don't think she's 100% in complete control anymore.
I don't even think she needs the neck brace.
Well, I don't
think
know about that.
She is now completely in control. She has everything she's ever wanted now.
Well, she was an inch from death. An inch from death does change people sometimes. So if you think that it's 100% sure that she can't be changed from an inch from death, okay.
No. She now has everything she's ever wanted. She has complete control over all of these people now.
Well, these people also know that they can choke her to death at any given moment.
But the only one, and even like you said, even Tabor, who is violent, wouldn't even do it. The only person that would do it was Mac.
Well, I don't think Tabor is violent as you think he is. I think he's just vocally violent. I don't think he's physically violent.
She has 1,000% control.
If she got 1,000% control, then why does the chief able to pull out the wire thing and escape? She's not in control.
After hours, I mean.
No, well, it's not after hours. It's during the day.
Well, the chief.
She also knows what happens to Mac, and she knows that she's conquered.
That I'll give. The smile could be because of that.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not going to say.
Knows.
But you can't say for 100% certainty that she isn't going to try to be a little different.
No. Worse. She can be different. She's going to be worse.
But she doesn't have a person in that group like Billy. Billy was so dependent on her because of the relationship she had with her mother. She doesn't have that with anybody else in this group now. And these people in this group, they're going to continue to stand up to her like they did, because this wasn't the first time that you had these people. You know, we just talked about it earlier. I mean, we already know that Cheswick has done this before. He's probably going to do it again. Yeah, but
he's under control because they'll just shock him again.
So basically, what you're saying is Mac had no influence on these people moving forward. That they're going to go back to the way they were before, which I disagree. I think someone like Cheswick, though. Because at the end of the movie, Cheswick thanks him for everything that he's done for them.
And we don't know. But the only way things wouldn't have changed is Chief stops that when he does what he does. If the other patients would have seen him lobotomized, I think that would have destroyed everybody.
Well, I think they do. Well, eventually they do see it. I mean, it's not like the chief hid the body afterwards. He's laying there with the pillow off his...
He's right, but there's no way to really tell if somebody's been lobotomized.
Oh, yes, there is. I mean, you could see it on the head. That's why he knew he had been lobotomized. First, and here's the thing.
And there's nothing going on behind the eyes.
So, and yeah, they'll eventually know that he's not the same person anymore. So with the chief escaping there, the chief is the one that he's changed for sure. Because the chief has decided that I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. I'm getting out. And the inmates are cheering him on because they realize they need to be out too. So I do think things have changed. I don't think Nurse Ratched has the control that she thinks she has, or the control you think she has. I think this is a game changer, and everything is different from here on out.
So this is where we hear that Chief says that somebody else had been lobotomized under Nurse Ratched, and because he says it, he alludes to it, and it's
who does he say this to? By the way, I don't remember the conversation.
I don't either. Says it to me. He says it to Mac because he's trying to get some sort of reaction out of Mac.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Mac's not. He's gone because he's been lobotomized, and that is one of the most horrible things you could do to a human being.
I think that's why the chief killed him, as a mercy killing.
Because he knows that Mac would never have wanted to live that way.
No life. It's, yeah.
You are a vegetable.
Pretty much.
Literally.
Yeah.
there's no longer any personality. It's hard to watch. I'll be honest, but it's the most touching moment in the entire movie because Chief does it out of love because he loves Mac.
And that's why they ended the movie that way.
Not romantic love or anything like that.
No, we know that.
It's he loves Mac. If I was going to be a vegetable, I would have hoped that you would have done that to me.
Well, me and Eric both had pillows in our hands. We just didn't have there wasn't a right time to actually do it.
Yeah, Michelle probably tried to stop you.
Too many witnesses.
She gave us the pillows.
She gave you the pillows. Yeah, that's probably true.
It is an incredible ending. It is an incredible ending.
Yeah, it's a wonderful ending. It's one of my favorite endings to a movie. Because there's so much love and care that Chief does that, and I love the fact that he embodies the spirit of Mac and picks up that hydrotherapy thing and just throws it through the window.
With the Indian music playing in the background.
With the Indian music playing in the background.
It would have been more interesting if he tripped and fell, and then as we see him running.
Stop it.
I agree with you. I do agree that I think it's very powerful, the ending there. It's kind of a game changer, because how are you coming back from what happened to Billy? How do you finish off the movie? How do you finish off, the story? And I think this is the right way to finish off the story. It is gut-wrenching to, see him kill off his friend. He even says to the point, "I promise I wouldn't leave without you." We made that pact.
Right.
And it is emotional, and you feel. And to be honest, I'm kind of a little disappointed that Will Sampson didn't get nominated.
Yeah.
For Best Supporting
Actor.
Yeah.
Because I think he does an amazing job here.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially at the end. Is it because he's a Native American? I don't know. I mean,
no.
We're going to play the race card.
Oh, boy.
I don't think that's the case.
I mean, it won everything else. Why can't he be nominated? It would have been.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think that it could have swept 6 of the top 7 awards. Had he been nominated.
All right. And on that note, let's kick off to our reviews, shall we? Ken, kick it off. Why don't you?
So I said I saw this movie like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and I was kind of bored by it. I didn't even finish the ending. So this time around, I came with new eyes, and
you finished the ending.
And I finished the ending. Yep. I didn't start the beginning, but no. There's a lot of good performances here. You have a really great battle between the nurse and Mac. It's perfectly done. They're chess pieces that they try to move to try to go against each other. This is maybe one of my favorite Jack roles of all time. I'm not big Jack Nicholson fan. I don't dislike him. I just think he's a tad overrated. But this is where he shines. This movie kind of is above everything else that I've seen him in. And that includes Chinatown, being the Joker, and some other movies that he's definitely known for.
The Shining, maybe?
The Shining.
Yeah.
Shining is a little overacting for me. It's a little bit overacting for me on The Shining.
Wow.
But this movie, there's no overacting. This is the way he responds to everything that happens around him feels genuine. Even though he has a shady past with the minor and the assaults and all this stuff, you kind of root for the guy because of the fact that, as Ted stated earlier, he cares for the people that he's around with.
Yeah, he learns to love them, learns to care for them. Absolutely.
And that shows more in this role for Jack than it does for anything else I've seen him in. And that could also be the roles that he's taken. If given this type of role again, maybe he does it again. But I just feel like he's more, like we kind of say, Al Pacino at a certain point becomes Al Pacino-ish. Jack Nicholson has done that too to himself as well. But this role is kind of like separated from everything else.
Sure.
And Louise Fletcher is perfect, as the Nurse Ratched. When you have two leads that are perfectly cast, and do the magic that they do, everything comes together, when your leads are that perfect. Is it a movie, though, that I'm excited to watch again? Not really. It's good for the one or two. I might watch it again, but I'm not in a hurry to watch it. again, it's not one of my favorite movies because it is depressing, and depressing movies are not things that I kind of put on the top of my radar. But I do see why people think this is one of the best films ever made. So on that note, I'm going to make a compromise and go with 4 hooks on this one. It's probably more of a 5-hook movie, if you're talking about how it's made and everything. And for my enjoyment, it's probably more like 3.5. So I'm just kind of bumping it up because of the fact of how well it's made.
Okay. All right. Well, for me, I can see why this movie swept the awards. Without a doubt. No argument. I think the cast is incredible. I think everyone cast, even the inmates, everything is cast beautifully. There's a few parts in here that are a little, like with any movie. But this is definitely one of my favorites. I can't understand why I haven't watched this movie in such a long time. I've let it kind of go to the back burner, and watching this movie again was a sheer joy, a sheer pleasure. Yeah, the topic's depressing. Yeah, the plot's depressing, but the acting is an incredible movie. It is definitely one that I will watch again. Now there's a few extra scenes in here that I need to watch that I need to look out for. This movie for me is it's not 5, it's not 4, it's 4.5 hooks. It's right there. Ted, take us home. What do you got?
I agree with pretty much everything you guys have said. It's not a happy-go-lucky, fun Trump, but the acting here is second to none. And this is, like Ken said, in my opinion, this is the definitive Jack role. This is the role that made Jack Jack. This is the role that got Jack the role in The Shining. You can see a lot of Mac in Jack Torrance. And those are the things that Ken says that's Jack playing Jack. It comes from his portrayal here. Louise Fletcher is amazing in this movie. She plays the quintessential villain. Milos Forman does an amazing job directing here. The only movie that, in my opinion, that comes close, I haven't seen all of his work, but the movie that comes closest for me as far as Milos Forman goes is Amadeus, which ironically takes place in part of it takes place in an insane asylum. This movie touches my heart in a way that I never expected the first time I saw this movie. And this is a movie that, even though it's kind of more of a downer type of a movie, I watch this every so often. I don't think there's been a time where I've went more than a year or two without watching this movie. This is movie making at its pinnacle. AFI did 100 movies 100 years, and this was number 33. I think it's kind of low. There are movies that are above it that I think it's probably better than, but this is one of the greatest movies ever put on film. And hey, this is a solid 5 for me. I adore this movie. It's close to perfect. The one thing that I don't really care for is some of the music, but that's neither here nor there. It doesn't affect me one way or the other as far as that goes.
One thing I want to add that I should have added in my final, Brad Dourif also is another guy who probably should deserve a lot of credit in this movie.
Should have been nominated?
Yeah.
You could have nominated him and Chief for Best Supporting Actor.
I forget that I see him in so many movies. We got to see him in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Yep. And he's going to be in a movie that we're going to be talking about here shortly.
Yes, Mississippi Burning, yes.
Completely different role. I mean, he was even in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
He's also the voice of Chucky.
Yes, he's the voice of Chucky.
Oh, there you go.
He's a really good actor. And there is precedent for 2 people from the same movie being nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Sure.
Or Actress. And you could have definitely had both Brad Dourif and Chief nominated here.
He was very young when he did this. I think he was in his early 20s when he did this movie. So
yeah,
he's really good.
Cool. All right. Well, we all like it. Yay! And on that note, gentlemen, nobody puts baby in a corner.
See you at the movies.
All right.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies.